Hello, and welcome to episode 99 of Nintendo Therapy, a show about the latest Nintendo news and rumors, as well as a celebration of all of the things Nintendo. My name is Kevin, and with me this week is Harrison,
Hey, welcome
trying to
back.
use the use the visual medium now with a point, and Sean.
Hello.
Hey guys, it's time for some Nintendo therapy. I know we weren't here last week, technically, even though we uploaded a bonus episode. We got things to catch up on, and yeah, just get it all out. We missed our therapy session last week, so we can finally talk about all those things that we think about while we're at work, and we wish we were at home playing video games. So, who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Sure.
Uh, it's been a pretty rare Nintendo week for me because I can't remember a Nintendo week that has been so mobile dominant. And I
Yeah.
messaged this to you, Kevin, yesterday, and I don't always believe in the Apple numbers, but Apple. Nintendo has the second best free app on iOS, which is Pokemon trading card game Pocket, and then they have the number one paid app, which is Animal Crossing Pocket Camp Complete.
Which I
And
Really?
downloaded today and fell asleep when I was loading it up because I work third shift. So I'll be playing that tonight.
um, I can kind of tell you, 'cause I didn't play it. I played it like I think one day when it first came out, and then I knew I was going to get frustrated with the in-app purchases, so I was like, I'm not gonna play it. I'm not gonna like do that to
Mhm.
myself. But now that the free version is out, um, it's there's a lot of initial content um, that'll last anywhere between a few days and a few weeks, depending on how much you are playing it. And then it might be more of a casual game, but there is so much to collect. It is overwhelming. Um,
Is it kinda like the regular Animal Crossing?
it's not so much like the regular Animal Crossing, but there's a lot of charm to it, I must say. There's a lot of things in it that reaffirm a lot of missed opportunities that were in Animal Crossing's New Horizons, which came out
Okay.
uh, 3 years, almost 3 years after Animal Crossing Pocket Camp did. So it's a shame that like Animal Crossing New Horizons didn't find that medium of like not being a live service game in a sense that it's predatory, but also like updating the game constantly. Because again, like Animal
Mm.
Crossing New Horizons, if you just gave me like new cosmetics every 6 weeks, I'm gonna log in and like collect it. But there was just nothing really that was too much there. But it has been just a absolute dominant week. I mean, I couldn't find numbers on how many premium memberships there are for Pokemon, but there has been over 200 million in revenue, which is more than Pokemon Unite in the entire history, which is a 6-year-old game and is out also for consoles
Yeah, I
as
think there
well.
was some bad marketing on Pokemon Unite also, by the way. That was something I wanted to bring up last week when we talked about Pokemon Pocket is like I literally didn't even know that game existed until the trading card game Pocket came out. So like
What is Pokemon Unite?
It's a MOBA.
it's another mobile card game app that
Oh, okay.
so it's like they already made an app for the card game and now this is like the better one.
It's more
Alright, that's
like
weird.
I'm gonna fail doing this because I'm not a real gamer. It's more like League. It's like a MOBA. It's a MOBA
Oh, oh.
game. I looked. I have some friends on my Switch account that have over 2,000 hours on Pokemon Unite. Like they play like just a couple hours a day, just for like
Wow.
um.
Mhm.
But they play like three games. They play like Stardew, Animal Crossing, Pokemon Unite. Like it's like. Uh, but it's a I can see how it's addicting. But yeah, I mean that is a 6 years old. It's available on consoles, and then just imagine how what we would be doing if there was a Pokemon trading card game on Switch. That's a whole other big conversation. But yeah, they're averaging over 3 million in revenue a day. I wish there were more numbers because um, I know there was a study done last year that said like 1.8% of mobile gamers make in-app purchases, and the top 1% is like 30% of all purchases. So like I have seen people spend some crazy amount of money on Pokemon already, like
No, I
over a
remember.
thousand dollars already on it.
I feel like that stat has gotten better because I remember hearing that stat back when I used to play The Simpsons Tapped Out, and I don't know if it was for just that app or something, but it was a very similar statistic where it was like, very, very small number of people make the in-app purchases, and then like very huge percentage of that make up the bulk of the in-app revenue. Like the people who do spend lots of money.
Yeah.
And then there's people who spend very little. But
I,
yeah.
I can see a medium because I'm sure like a big, maybe not majority but plurality is the premium membership, and perhaps it's premium and then like that's it. Like I'm sure
Mhm.
that's me. I'm sure it's a lot of people. Uh
I don't even know how to spend extra money except for
you,
stuff that I
you
don't
buy
really
gold.
care about, like the mats and the coins and stuff. But yeah, you buy the
You buy
gold,
gold.
yeah, but like I don't ever really need the gold.
You
Like I
Yeah, yeah. The gold just gets converted into whatever you want from there. So you buy the gold,
I
six
guess.
six
It
gold.
just I looked into it and it just didn't seem worth it to me
It's not worth
for
it.
the price.
It's not
Like,
worth it.
yeah,
It's not worth.
it's not worth it at all.
But if but
Like, the amount of gold you get, I'm just like, I'll just wait till I can open a pack. Like, I don't know. So, I guess not telling
Yeah.
people how to spend their money, but I feel like the gold incentives I feel like I would be spending money if I got a little bit more gold for my money. You know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah. Well, it's not worth it, and let's stay on that because like my feeling right now is that like I'm I'm probably 2 days away from finishing the like everything in the premium program, and I just signed
Mhm.
up 5 days ago, and
Oh
it'll
wow.
probably go on for a month. And when I got the free membership, by the time I got the free membership, I was already done with the premium program last month. So I'm hoping that they do find a medium because there's supposed to be a small set this month, a large set next month. We just need more because I'm feeling like if you sign up for premium, chances are you're someone who wants to play the game more.
Mhm.
Chances like unlike if you have it for free and you might just play every once in a while. If you're paying $10, you probably want to be more engaged with the app. Now, I'm happy that
And I think they might
Nintendo
be
is.
slow building it too,
Yeah.
though, like where, the app is still relatively new. They're building their install base, and then on top of that, they want the people who did get the app now they want them to feel like they were able to do everything, so that when more stuff gets added, they chase that feeling. You know what I mean? And like eventually, the stuff gets to a point where you can't do everything, but you remember back when you could.
Yeah, and it'll be a balance. I mean, again, like for me, I would like this would be like 8 out of 10 because I would knock off 1 point because it feels like early access because there are features
Mhm.
that we just don't have yet. I'm fine for early access. I play plenty of early access games. Trust me. And I'd knock off a
Oh, that
point.
is a rabbit hole.
Yeah,
You don't want to go down that.
and I would knock off a point just because I feel like we need more. Like I brought up MLB The Show last week because it has like card game elements to it. at its best, at that game's best, there are things to do when you finish the programs. Right now, when you finish the programs, there's not really much to do besides battling some random people and leveling up pretty slowly. I saw one guy online. He's at level 50 already, free to play. He played he won over 3,000 matches, which means like he's played at least 10 days like in game time. Like
Which is insane because you can't autoplay those. You have to actually play them.
those are the games that he won. And
Yeah,
like
that
you
too.
you can't even see the loss record. So so yeah. Sean, I'm so happy you're
It's,
here, man. Have you been
it's good
playing
to
any
be
of these
back.
games?
I've never been big on Pokemon and the mobile thing. I did start playing around with the Donkey Kong Land games that have like the weirdest add-on release schedule ever.
Right.
It was just like every day, like, are we throwing another one up today? No. Hold on. Tomorrow? No. Today? Yeah, all right. All right. So I just thought it was weird that because Kevin and I were talking about how like the Mega Mans all went up at once, and then like the
Yeah.
thing Nintendo owns, they're like, nah, we'll dole them out. But so it's
Yeah, but
cool to
not
get to
even
play
dole them
them.
out weeks apart, like days apart. It was
Yeah,
weird.
In
nothing
2 weeks, yeah.
about it made sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
Within two
finally
weeks.
been playing those. Yeah, it was like 2 weeks and 3 games, and I don't know. None of it made sense. But I've never played them before, so I've been playing the first one, and it's surprisingly challenging compared to the Super Nintendo games. I don't know if either one of you have played Donkey Kong Land before.
No,
They've
just
added a lot since we last spoke. I want to talk when in my notes when it's my turn. I've got some stuff about other games that we would have talked about last week, but keep going. I'm just realizing now. Wow, they did all of this since we last spoke.
yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
added so much stuff in the interim, and
yeah,
no, I've been liking it, but like the platforming feels like you have to be more precise, which is weird because it's technically a lower visual quality game compared to the Super Nintendo games. So
yeah. They were definitely
but they're-
counting on people playing those games on Game Boy Pocket because if you look at
yeah,
the difference between the green blur you would get on an original Game Boy versus the black and white contrast a Game Boy Pocket had, it's a little easier that way. I don't did you have to play with the settings in your Game Boy NSO?
I've been keeping it on Game Boy Color, so that
Okay.
seems to be all right.
Yeah, that
Like
should be fine.
they're not amazing, but so I've been playing around with that, and then I've been trying to keep up with the Spotlight games in the off time. So the only notable things that changed on my list, Punch Out's at number 12, because man, is that a fun game.
Oh yeah.
And why are we still waiting for more on that?
Yeah, and it's funny, whenever I see articles now that are like 10 franchise, well, maybe not 10, but 5 franchises Nintendo needs to bring back when they launch the Switch 2. It's like Kid Icarus. I don't Pilot Wings. I don't often see Punch Out on those lists, but it is one that
I
there should
mean,
be a Punch Out every system. It's so
we
easy.
haven't had
Just
one since Wii.
and it's a formula that's so easy to just redo. Like, just give us new bosses with different tells,
Yeah,
and you just keep reusing it. You know?
It's Smash.
and then
It's
Yeah,
Smash.
yeah,
Sorry,
you think it's
but like
Smash?
for Punch Out, we have Smash. For F-Zero, we have Mario Kart. Keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the only other one that cracked the top 20 was Wave Race. I put it number 19 because it's just fun. Like that was literally the two reasons those got in the top 20 is they're just fun games to play.
yeah. I think I said it that episode, but I don't know if I would have played Wave Race had it not been a launch title and come out like during a time where I just needed a Nintendo
Yeah.
64 game. But I'm glad I did. Like, I played the hell out of it back in the day. I will always bring this up whenever people talk about Wave Race. I unlocked the dolphin that you could ride, which I don't remember how you do it, but I remember it was a lot of very specific things. Like
Uh,
you had to do trick mode and have like a high score or something, and then you had to do like a specific trick in a specific area. Um,
at the time, that was roughly 10 days of gameplay for you.
yeah, yeah,
Way back when, but yeah, so I've been doing that, and, I know the last one you guys talked about was the Immortal, which I checked out, and I was hoping the
Mm.
Souls fan in me would be like, "Oh, this is just ambitious is all this is," and, I
yeah.
tried it 3 times, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. I died, and yeah, there's really no reward in
I
comparison," but I give
I
the
still want to
credit
play the
for even
Sega Genesis
attempting it.
version. It looks
I
so much
don't get
better.
why they didn't just put both, like, if you have the
I don't know.
licensing for 1,
Yeah.
then obviously you should have the licensing for 2, and you're probably gonna bring it up, but it was nice to see the Sega channel get some love finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a breakdown. I'm not going to remember the number, but it had been a long time. Someone said the exact number of days since we had gotten a new addition to Sega Genesis, and it was a lot. So, big gap in the Sega Genesis editions, and finally got some.
I, I,
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to 2 of them I've played. I've never played the mercenary one, but it looked like something I'd like. So
yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
like on
we should
our
just go ahead.
I like on our Immortal episode, because we ranked it pretty low. I liked on our Immortal
yeah,
episode that Kevin, you uploaded our YouTube video, and our thumbnail is me with like a real real confused look on my face
I
when
mean, I give him credit for even attempting to put that on an NES,
Yeah.
but
well
it
we,
just
we
didn't work.
well that's true because we brought up wait, is it Nightshade or is it the other one?
Nightshade,
Nightshade.
yeah.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is
yeah,
Nightshade.
Nightshade.
Nightshade. I can't remember which one it was.
That
Yeah.
was good.
Yeah. And how it kind of compared to that, and how it was very ambitious for him to do that as well in that system. The scheduling has been very very strange, and yeah, his like, luckily we got him in order. Like 2 weeks ago, one, like 10 days ago we got two, and then like, yes, like 2 days ago yesterday we got
Yeah,
three, and
great.
then just out of nowhere, they announced that Tetris is coming on the 12th. The 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 Nintendo version, Tetris, the
Yeah,
original
which we
one.
knew was coming at some point, from was it from a direct, I think, whenever they announced that
Mm.
Tetris project,
Right,
but they didn't give us a day.
right. We knew it was coming at some point, but like, it's like, one, and I'm sure a lot of people forget that it's not on there, and then like Nintendo just kind of like, they just like put it on their Twitter. Sometimes
I
they don't
think the
even put
Game
it
Boy
on.
version's been on there, right?
Game Boy's on there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
sometimes they don't even put it on like the American Twitter, like the English Twitter. Sometimes they'll just like the
Throw it
announcements
on
are so
everything else.
yeah, we're just gonna like the most, hey, the most influential game of all time. Yeah, we're gonna put on the system now. Here you go. Um, so my first Tetris was Game Boy. How about you guys? Sean, how about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, me too. I
Yeah. I didn't even know
remember
anyone who owned the NES cart growing up.
my
It
cousin
was just
had it,
Game Boy. Yeah.
so when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, this was on oh, I had no idea."
There's a
It's like, it's
rare
got
one
colors
too that's
now.
worth money. I don't know any more than that, but I know there's like the original pressing of Tetris on NES. They changed some minor detail nobody cares about, and I think it changed publishers or something. And that version's worth
Yeah.
a lot of money.
Hmm.
Yeah, that sounds about right, but yeah, Game Boy was my first with that. I Dr. Mario, I think, was first on NES for me,
Mhm.
but
Can't remember.
yeah, because I
I never
haven't.
even knew it was on NES until like probably I might have learned that from the Nintendo Wii Virtual Console. Like I might have learned it then and been
Yeah,
like, "Oh,
maybe.
they had the NES version?" Um, but
I think my favorite
yeah.
version of Tetris is probably Tetris DS, which I know is impossible to find,
Mm.
Hmm.
but, and I haven't played the most recent 2,
I really want the
Effect
new one.
and The new one I
collection?
haven't played yet.
I really want it. I don't know why. It looks so cool. It
Because
looks
it's
so cool.
Tetris. Of course you want it.
It's a great collection. It's a perfect game. It's just like if I wanted to play Tetris, there's lots of options, including the
We
online service.
we
Uh,
uh, we obviously, like everyone else, had it on our Windows computer, and in
Oh
like
yeah.
1998, and like my mom even played it. Like my mom and I were competing for high score in our household in Tetris, and it's like my mom, that might be the only video game she's ever played.
That was that story about that elderly woman whose Game Boy died and all she played it was Tetris on it and they replaced it.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
yep.
yeah, the Tetris is like the universal game.
yep. It's the example of the perfect game, and
Mhm.
there's not too many of those. Uh,
And now at some point we'll be ranking it when it gets
yeah,
pulled.
yeah. Before we
We'll
get
we'll
off
do
the
Tetris. We'll do it with that's actually a perfect segue of something I wanted to
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
about.
yeah.
Is this week I reorganized the randomizer. I grouped a lot of stuff together.
Okay.
And just I wanted to bring up what we've covered so far, because I made a Google Sheets, which is the knockoff version of Microsoft Excel. Uh, I made like
Fancy.
a chart thing for it, and so far we've done 28 NES games, 18 Super Nintendo games, 11 Game Boy games, 6 Game Boy Advance games, but I mean, there's not a lot on the service to begin with, and 18 Nintendo 64 games, tied with Super Nintendo, 15 Sega Genesis games. So we've done our fair share, but we're gonna start doing a lot more. We've been combining them more lately, and that's why I redid the randomizer. Is I put a lot of stuff together, and at the end of this episode, I'll reveal it. There's some cleanup we have to do since we're pairing stuff now, and next
Okay.
week I'd like to just do some stuff that we should have done already. So this is the first week it won't be random, but it's stuff where it's like, well, okay, we already talked about the game this should be paired with, so let's get it off the list.
No, that's a
hmm,
good idea. I like that.
times where we messed
Um,
up. Luckily, we got like the
yeah,
Mario Golf and like things like that last minute.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. Before we get off NSO too much, I did want to say one thing about Donkey Kong Land. Um, I just wanted to be a hypocrite real quick. Um,
Okay.
Okay.
because I did put this in like whatever last time we did predictions or whatever, and one of my biggest pet peeves of streamers are streamers that usually just vent or talk about times where they were right about things. But I want to do that right now. I want to do that. I was right.
Okay.
I was right about it, and everyone told me that I was gonna be wrong, but I was right.
Right about what?
Everyone said Donkey Kong Land won't come to NSO. No,
Oh, okay.
no one said that. But I wanted to bring up that hey, we predict a lot of things on here, and actually a lot of them end up coming true eventually.
I honestly think we have a pretty good track record. There's a lot of times we'll report rumors just because people are talking about them, and we're pretty good at saying, like, yeah, but I don't think this will happen. I think we've got a pretty good BS detector for, like, is this true? Is this not true? And yeah, toot our own horn a little bit there.
You want to keep your BS detector going because that's a
Hey,
good
if the Switch 2 comes out in March, I called it episode 1.
True.
Our first episode was when we think the next system will come out, and I said the beginning of 2025,
Ah,
and it's looking pretty good for that.
we're still
Back
talking.
before
Oh,
we had any rumors or details, it was just a random guess based on how the Switch sales were doing.
we've been talking about the Switch before you guys even knew me. That's sad. That's kind of sad. But
Yeah.
that is a good segue to talk about the two big, I guess I'll call them leaks from this week. We got one which is It's hilarious. Did you guys see? So the first one came from an Alibaba e-commerce site, whatever random e-commerce. I don't know if it's
Are you talking about the
important.
Joy-Cons?
The first one I want to talk about is the screen protector, because
Oh, okay.
did you see? And I put it in our notes, a screenshot of it. There's a picture, and the guy he's taking a it's clearly, I'm pretty sure it's a man. He's taking a picture of the screen protector, but you have to realize it's like taking a picture of a mirror.
Yeah.
Because you can see some guy, and he's got a ring, I'm assuming, like, on his right hand.
Oh, yeah. I'm
And,
looking at it
like,
now.
if this is real, like, why would you just, like, you're like the dumbest criminal ever. Like, do that, you know? Like, um,
Might as
so
well hold your driver's license up.
so 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 Kevin, I'll pass it along to you first, but I'll just say I don't think this is anything real. I think that it's like, okay, we've had lots of speculations that it's going to be an 8-inch screen. That was the last big leak. And I think this is just someone, a company, small company, one person who is trying to take advantage of people. They are getting lots of free press from it, clearly. And I'm sure that there are people out there that are buying this stuff for whatever reason. So, Kevin, what is your
Yeah, I
feeling?
always hate non-answers like I'm about to give for rumors because, it's not good content for a podcast. Like you always want to speculate and stuff like that. But I'm struggling here to come up with anything interesting to say. I really just don't think it's anything. Like it, and I hate
Nothing.
non-answers like that, but it's like if it's real or if it's fake, this makes zero difference. It's a picture of a piece of plastic.
Sure.
Like it's a picture, if you haven't seen it, it is literally like the screen protector you put on your cell phone, the little clear plastic thing you smudge onto the screen so that it doesn't crack. Um, it's just a picture of one of those and then a bigger one of those behind it. So it's like I can't even gauge. You can't even really gauge size from the picture because you don't know how far away that phone is in the reflection. So it's like yeah, this tells us nothing. It tells us that the Nintendo Switch 2 will have a screen if this is real. Like it's not really anything.
Exactly. Sean?
Honestly, all it made me do is miss video game magazines because this would have been like a full 1 page, 2 page thing. Like, oh my god, exclusive photos, and it's like Kevin said, it's like it's a piece of plastic. Like, of course, the next Switch is gonna have screen protectors. Like,
Yeah.
this doesn't mean anything. Like, you might as well have just put a picture of a cartridge and went, "It's gonna play games." Oh, is it?
Yeah.
That would have been even more news because if you we would have known like roughly what the cartridges would look like.
Yeah.
So kudos, I guess, for being able to put anything you want as long as you put Switch 2 in the title.
Yeah. And for all I know, and I think there might have been like a case or something also, but for all I know, I mean, I'm sure there's like an 8-inch like tablet, like Android tablet that's already out there that has a 8-inch
Oh
screen
yeah.
protector.
Mm.
So for all I know, it could be that the Joy-Con one. So this one appeared on Bilibili, if that's how you say it. I don't know, but it's a Chinese streaming service. I see a lot of people that live here that use it. Um, I couldn't find the video, which is strange. I could only find like photos, like a lot of different photos that circulated of it. For all I know, it could just be like a third party fake Joy-Con 3D printed whatever. But it does look like a legit Joy-Con, and it does look a lot like the drawings, or the markups that we've seen so far. So,
Here's
um,
here's what I took away from it. So yes, we've seen like markups and stuff. It does look pretty legit, but I don't think it is, and here's why. Um and I didn't really look too much at this week, so I could be wrong about this, but I did take a quick glance at it. And the thing that stands out to me is the Joy-Con that would have the home button and it's got that second button above the home button that we still don't know what it does yet. Um, there's no like engraving on any of these buttons. Like the home button normally has like a little home on it. The A, B, X, Y aren't labeled in any way
Oh
at
yeah.
all. So that's what makes me think if this is anything, it's a prototype for like game developers or something, but I don't think, or maybe it's a like slick model they'll put out, but
Well, it
I
could
don't
be.
think this is a standard
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, it could be. It could be prototype, but
Yeah.
that's the speculation on if it's anything just at all. It does look
Yeah.
similar to what we've seen. If you haven't seen it, the like the side L and R buttons are much bigger, which matches what we've seen. And it would also be very nice just to have it as a standalone. Very rarely do I ever use a single Joy-Con, but I'm sure other people do. I'm sure they do. And it looks like there's no latch to the magnets, which is what I was wondering about. That's something that I'm really looking forward to. I've never dropped my Switch, but I can imagine like if you drop your Switch, the Joy-Cons can break pretty easily. Like if they snap
Mhm.
off. Like
Yeah,
I imagine.
my wife's broke at the track and we had to get a new one.
Yeah, and I imagine if they snap off, it's like that's pretty much it. So, this would be a much better option. And then the last part I'll describe is that there is a back trigger button, which looks like it is sideways, like it's going to like the outside. Um, that's that's it. That makes me optimistic. I would like to have extra back buttons. I don't know what that would be, but anyways, Sean, do you think this could be a prototype, or you think this is nothing?
It's probably nothing because again, we're in the age of you can make whatever you want as long as you get a 3D printer. But it's funny because I haven't used a Joy-Con in months since I get the split pad pro thing for mine.
Oh, I want
So
that.
it's it's basically almost like you have a pro controller for handheld. Like they're big beefy
Yeah.
Joy-Cons, and that's all I've used for handheld since I've got them. So it's gonna be interesting if I have to go back to using a Joy-Con for a little bit on the next system, because I don't even know what it's like to hold one anymore. So I get what you're saying though. It definitely like the original design needs bigger buttons and needs to almost be more comfortable in the hand.
Hmm.
Like I feel like it's kind of hard to hold the regular Joy-Con attached to it and not get cramps and stuff. So I'm hoping that this is more, like comfortable to use on the next system.
Yeah.
But as far as like a news story, it's probably nothing.
Yeah, I want something more tactical. Like I really like my Steam Deck, like how I can get really precise with my joysticks. And I feel like sometimes with Joy-Cons, it's just too small, and it's probably too old too. My Joy-Cons are probably just a bit too old. I I I would have bought the split pad is because I just didn't know like when the Switch 2 was going to come out. Which color do you have?
I have the black one, so it's just one big uniform black system now.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I use it all the time. So I mean, I think for you, especially with the holidays coming up, maybe wink, wink, say no more. Hey, I'd like to have that, but
Yeah,
it's definitely easier, more comfortable. Like I will use the entire battery on the Switch using those. Whereas with the Joy-Con, at some point I'd be like, okay, this hurts. I gotta either play on the TV or give up. So
right. Yeah, it's not too bad for me. My hands aren't that big. It's not too bad for me. Um, but yeah, I just always waited for like I'm sure they're gonna make a new one when the new system comes out. Um, yeah, black is cool. The GameCube one is like that's the one that I think
yeah,
that's like
I know
really
that's the
My
cool.
one a
favorite
lot of people
controller.
have. Well,
Yeah.
you're crazy, but yeah, they do have the GameCube one, but whatever you prefer. but I mean, like I said, in your case, I recommend getting one.
Yeah,
All right, we are running close to time. We should be talking about the spotlight game, but there's two things extra I think we should mention. One is real quick, is we kind of touched on this. We mentioned they added, besides the Donkey Kong Land games, we got Wolf of the Battlefield Mercs for Sega Genesis added to NSO. We
Which
got
looks fun.
Vectorman, which is a game I've tried a million times and never been good at, so it'll be interesting when that gets drawn. I think I just don't know how to play it. um, and last but certainly not least, they finally added Toejam and Earl Panic on Funcotron, which I've been waiting forever for them to put that on the service. So thank
Have
you
you
for
ever
adding my games.
played through that one? Because I've played it, but I've never beaten it.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So just wanted to kind of mention they did that, and also wanted to talk about the Metroid Prime visual retrospective art book that's
really
coming
cool.
out summer 2025, which everyone on the internet has been speculating it must mean that the other Metroid Prime games are coming, and I really hope that's true.
Well,
Yeah, that would be great because I've been digging the Metroid on the Switch. So
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I just finished Metroid Prime like 2 weeks ago. So not, I mean, I'd finished it before, but I'd never done the HD one. So finally finished Metroid Prime HD like 2 weeks ago.
isn't this just like in lieu of the new Metroid Prime game coming out? I mean,
Well, that's
I'm sure 2 and 3 are coming eventually, but summer 2025, that might be like right before the holiday season, perhaps the holiday season we get Metroid Prime 4 or yeah.
yeah, all we know on that is it just says 2020 they worded it very specifically in the direct. It was pretty sure it said expected 2025, which meant it could be delayed into 2026,
Right.
like further.
Who knows?
So there's always that too.
Right, who knows? The art book looks really cool. I think it's $50, but right now it's $45, and I think you can get like 15 off the original price. And I personally think 35 for a book that size is like pretty good for like how
steal.
expensive books are right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it's pretty much priced in line with all the Zelda books they've put out,
right.
and there's a Final Fantasy. I know it's a different company; it's not Nintendo, but Final Fantasy books are like that too.
Y-
I definitely just because going through my physical movie thing. One of the Godzilla sets I have is out of print now. So if
mm.
I really wanted to, I could sell it for $500 apparently. So
Oh,
I'm
and don't
thinking
even
this
get me
Metroid.
started off the stuff they've taken off of streaming services. It's driving me crazy.
So I think this Metroid book, if you're a fan, get it as soon as you can
Yeah.
because
Yeah, they're probably not going to do a huge print run, I'd imagine, because Metroid's never even been that big a series for Nintendo. So get it while you can. It's probably
yeah,
not going to have like a fourth printing, you know?
I don't even know if it'll get a second printing. So
Yeah.
Yeah, super cool. It looks super cool. I wish there was more previews of it online, and I think it's just like the cover. But I look forward to seeing it.
I look forward to Prime 2 and 3 coming to Switch, confirmed.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's exciting. Let's
Because
hopefully
yeah,
that happens.
there's very few Metroid games I haven't played, and those are two of them. I haven't played those two Prime games, and I haven't played Other M, and I've played all the others. I think and Federation Force, but that one doesn't count. Um, so
It's in Metroid, but it has nothing to do with anything.
yeah, a
Okay.
Metroid
yeah.
game without Samus. Um,
Uh,
but yeah, let's get into that spotlight.
right.
Did you have something, Harrison?
No, I was just gonna say, Sean. I saw you mention Dead Cells on here. Did you know Dead Cells is available on Netflix? I saw that
Did you know it's a
yesterday.
Papa Roach song?
It's available on Netflix's what gaming thing?
Yeah, yeah, you can download it through iOS or I guess Android if you have a Netflix account. You can
I
download
can't
it for
imagine that
you could download it for free.
really.
I had like Netflix was up yesterday and like the previews were going and it was like Dead Cells play for free. And I was like, Dead Cells is on Netflix? Anyways, that's all.
Yeah,
That's all.
I don't know. But yeah,
That
let's get to the disappointing.
Yeah, so the spotlight game we've delayed for weeks now is Castlevania Legends, which came out in North America March of 1998 and November of 97 in Japan. It is another Game Boy Castlevania game. I think it's the third, correct?
It's the third one, and for whatever reason, it's not included in the anniversary collection.
So here's the reason I think I did a little bit of research on. I'm not very big into Castlevania, so I had to look stuff up this week. And it's not in the collections, I believe, because of the negative reception. It's not considered canon. So it's got a lot of canonical, what would have been canonical events in the game that are not considered canon now. Like it's, it introduces certain characters that were then reintroduced in later games, things like that. So this is another one that doesn't count.
It's
Which was
very
I
telling
remember
in the
like a thing with
quality.
Game Boy back in the day. They'd be like, "Oh, the Game Boy version doesn't count," but that wasn't intentional here. They wanted this one
Oh
to
yeah,
count.
yeah, yeah.
It just
I mean,
didn't.
it's very telling when the anniversary collection went. You know what? People want to play Kid Dracula. Put that in there as the eighth game. So
interesting.
Yeah, and it, as I mentioned, was not very well received when it first released. Computer and Video Games Magazine gave it a 2 out of 5, and even Nintendo Power, a magazine known for skewing its ratings to sell Nintendo games, still only scored it a 6.4 out of 10, which is basically a failure in Nintendo Power standings. Like, very few games rank like below uh, uh,
that
5. So
that had the disappointed face, right? Or did Nintendo Power not
no,
have the
that was
faces?
Game Pro. Game
That
Pro
was
had the
Game Pro.
faces.
Okay.
I should
Wow.
that would be an interesting segment to do someday is I'm gonna make a mental note of this is look up the lowest rated Nintendo Power games because they didn't tend to dump on games often. So
Ooh, that could
yeah.
be fun.
Um, I said that I would include it. I reached out to Josh, who was with us. I don't know, like maybe couple months ago at
Hmm.
Nintenvania. Because of course I guess
Oh, cool.
he's kind of a Castlevania guy, Nintenvania. And I'll just read what he said. He said Castlevania Legends is a weird one for me. Have never finished it for a number of reasons. Firstly, being a Game Boy game hampers it a lot with the movement, and I feel the overall fun. Plus, the game is not being canon means I'm not as interested to see what occurs. And talk about bad timing when this game came out back in the day. The first one after the Amazing Symphony of the Night, which actually that should leads me to my first question. I mean, would this game had more success as a Game Boy Color title, possibly as a launch title for Game Boy Color, or was there just more of a fundamental issue to this game that it's on Game Boy, it's on a D-pad, it's just not fun. Sean, what was the big issue about this game?
What's weird to me about so that this is one of the I haven't played through all of them, but I ended up watching Let's Play for this because that first level is so long, and I get to the boss, and I guess you have to have power ups to do damage to him,
Hmm.
and I never had stuff, so I was like, I'm not going through this freaking level again. So I ended up watching it. So that's the first time that's happened because the other two Game Boy ones I've played through on the collection, and I think what it is it's almost like it has worse controls than those two, even though those are older games. So I don't know. It's just very bland, and it. Did you guys get to any of the like trap parts of the first level?
I got to pretty
Where
much
you like,
I think where you did, and I did the same
Yeah, that's
thing.
something worth mentioning before we skip over it. What he means is by trap rooms is they have these areas set up where if it's Castlevania, you're whipping the candles certain candles, if you whip them, will send you to a trap room. It's like a trick.
And I was just like, okay, I get what you're trying to do here, but it's just frustrating in this context. It's not like you're playing a 3D Castlevania or like, oh, it's Symphony of the Night and you got to figure out, like the room puzzle to get out. It's just like, nope, you're getting dumped in a room and these things are going to kill you. So I mean, really, the only thing I thought was kind of interesting about it is that Sonia Belmont is part of the Vampire Survivors DLC, and I think that's the only other time
Really
she's
interesting.
appeared in anything since this game. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
that's
one of
really
the. I think that was the character introduction that they ended up reintroducing, or something like that. This was supposed to be like a canon story that is not canon now.
but I
yeah,
mean,
that's
I guess it gives me hope maybe the N64 games will show up down the road. I know they're not supposed to be great either, but I
They're
mean,
not as bad as people say they are. They're just um there would have been some patches if they were modern games. Like they would have definitely done some updates to those because there's certain ways that you can get stuck and have to restart your file if you do
oh,
things in the wrong order, things like that.
oh, yeah. So I mean, it was nice to play it. I still kind of think it should have been in the anniversary collection, but I get why it's not. And I mean, even watching the Let's Play, I was like, oh, this isn't even really interesting level design or anything, and it's not like one of the better Dracula end fights. So I was just like, okay, this is just a lot of disappointment, but hooray for my first, spotlight game back.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been too into the Castlevania series, so my experience with this is it's a bad game and a series that I don't really play much anyway. I thought the soul weapons were kind of a cool, like, Mega Man idea that the bosses
Yeah.
each give you, like, a new it's just like Mega Man. You fight a boss, you get a new ability. So that was kinda cool. There's some good ideas in here. It's just, it was a Game Boy game, and it's I also have to kinda hold the visuals accountable for what they are, is for a game that came out in 1998 on the Game
Yeah.
Boy, this looks like an early Game Boy game.
right.
Like, it looks more like I don't know, I can't think of when the Game Boy came out, but we'll say like a 1995 Game Boy game. Um, and especially I don't know. It really highlighted for me how much the Virtual Boy kind of held them back. Where we
Yeah.
already mentioned on our show, like the Game Boy Color was just like a band-aid for like, oh, well, the Virtual Boy was supposed to be our next thing. Let's do a Game Boy Color until we can put out something new. Um,
The only thing
so
I could
yeah.
like add to what you're saying is it's like the Turtles Game Boy games, like they're all decent games, but they're noticeably better each time.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
Oh
this
yeah.
is like they took 5 steps back and were like, "Well, what if we never made a Castlevania for Game Boy before?
Yeah.
Like we made 2." It's like, "Don't worry about that." So,
Yeah. And like we said a few seconds ago, it's kind of weird that this had to follow Symphony of the Night, which is like the most beloved Castlevania game ever. So high hopes were out there.
feel bad for that one kid who was super souped back in '98 and went and got it day 1 and was reading the box and then popped it in and was like, "What? Oh,
I mean, I didn't rank it too terribly. It's in the bottom third, but I ranked it 77, which put it right below Mega Man 2 on Game Boy. So, it's a pretty okay game. But I'd much rather play that. And I thought this was a little better. I enjoyed playing this more than I enjoyed the Excite Bike games on NES. I'm not an Excite Bike person, I guess. So that's what it's above.
For me, I put it at number 80. So it's in
Close.
the bottom. Yeah, it's around a lot of different random games that would not be in the same genre, I guess. I just said without a good frame of reference, I found the game to be too slow, especially in the beginning, just too slow.
Mhm.
Definitely watch some playthroughs of this because it doesn't seem to be like a very long game. But yeah, the controls feel too janky, and I have nothing to really compare it to. Just my overall enjoyment in playing this game. I look forward to playing some of the other games. Are we recommending this game to anyone? Sean, would you recommend this game to anyone? And your ranking?
So I guess I was the most harsh. I put it at 81.
But I mean, we're all
So
kind of close though. We're all like it's in that upper 70, lower 80 range.
that first level that I couldn't beat was slightly better than Street Fighter 2 for Genesis. So, but, uh, I guess if you're a Castlevania person and you want to give it a go, but there's better games to play. So if you don't absolutely have to spend time playing it, you're not
Mhm.
missing much.
Yeah, I that's a good time to bring up something I floated to Harrison for doing in one of our end of year segments coming up is I'd like to talk about all the games that were added to Nintendo Switch Online this year soon and talk about whether, the
They're
quality
worth
is
it.
there. Like are they adding more I wouldn't call it shovelware, but are they adding more just games that aren't worth your time versus games that are, which of
Are
course
there
they probably are, but
too many quests for Camelots where it's like,
yeah,
what?
exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about everything that was added this year. I
Uh,
don't think we'll be doing that next week, but it'll be I mean, there's only 3 shows left in the year. So one of these weeks.
episode
And oh
9.
yeah, instead of pulling the randomizer, that's what I
Yeah,
would
what
normally
what
do here.
what have you
So
predetermined?
I'm gonna call a mulligan. We might end up doing this again someday if I notice any more stray ends, but I think we definitely need to tie these loose ends up where we should talk about next week 3 games. We should talk about Super Mario Brothers Lost Levels because we ranked every other side-scrolling Mario on there, and we talked about Lost Levels when we did All Stars, but we did not rank Lost Levels. So
Okay.
we'll talk about that because that's on NSO by itself. We also talked about The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, but now we have Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past plus Four Swords, which wasn't on there when we did A Link to the Past. So we're pretty much just going to talk about Four Swords there.
Okay.
And lastly, when I was pairing up games and I saw Golden Axe 2 by itself, and we already talked about, I mean, Golden Axe by itself, we already talked about Golden Axe 2, and I don't think I don't think there's enough to say about it to fill a whole spotlight segment, so I'm throwing that in there too. And then maybe someday I'll do another cleanup session here too. But when I was pairing stuff, that's what stood out at least this week. So those will be the 3 games we talk about next week's spotlight. 3 spotlights, 3 bat
Mm,
signals.
It's a
Nice.
good, 3 different games. So,
Hmm.
Yeah. So hopefully it's a slow news week, but we can always push if we have to.
oh,
Um,
what if they're showing screen protectors, is only untold, crazy stories coming.
It
So,
could be, you joked. It could be any day. It could be while we're recording this, which
you're
happens
right.
which happens a lot. Like lately, like we like press stop and then like we get an NSO announcement or something. So um, yeah, and it
Well,
could
fellas,
be like a very passive announcement too. Like, oh yeah, here it is.
All right, so now that we're doing a video version and uploading to YouTube more regularly, one thing I wanted to try to do at the end here so people could prove that they watched the whole podcast. That's something I see on the internet a lot. Like, prove you listened the whole way through. Down below is my video. Whoop. Down below, uh, can anyone think of a good question to answer? All I'm coming up with generically is like, what's your favorite Castlevania game or something like that? Comment below. What do we got?
is there a Castlevania worse than Legends.
Okay, yeah. Is there a Castlevania worse than Legends, and is there a Castlevania better than Symphony of the Night?
Ooh, there you
There you
go.
go. All right, so thank you very much for listening. Comment that below. We are Nintendo Therapy. Keep in mind we're Nintendo fans, not Nintendo experts, so we miss things all the time, just like how we're doing cleanup on the Spotlight game. Let us know any ideas or anything you have out there. You can email us nintendotherapypod@gmail.com. We are thriving on Blue Sky right now. We were on Twitter for like 2 years, and I've in the 2 weeks I've been on Blue Sky, we've already gotten more followers. So
Nice.
we're blowing up. They love us there. Um don't know if they're listening to the show, but they're following our account. And that's all that really matters. Now I just need to get them I guess it's not a tweet, blue skying us. I don't know what it's called, reposting us.
So it's
So
skywriting.
yeah, skywriting, that's what it should be called. Yeah. And yeah, I don't really have anything else to say to end this, but the end of the year is coming and we'll have some end of the year themed segments for our listeners, so stay tuned.